OGaccountability.com.
Morning, and thank you for joining us. We are here with Liz. Liz, thank you for being here.
Pleasure as always.
Today we're going to talk about a couple things, but I think honestly it's kind of like more up your alley, and you have a lot of experience. I have a little, but not as dedicated as you are. Today we're going to talk about healthy living, or living,
Yes.
living if you're in the country, and living if you're not. But we're going to talk about healthy living and how that kind of manifests into every area of your life. I think everybody out there, especially that once you hit that cognizant age of like, I'm not going to last forever. I'm not bulletproof. And you start thinking about like what goes in my body, what I'm eating, how I feel. Food, a lot of times people maybe not get the concept that what you eat today will affect how you feel tomorrow.
It's everything. That affects how you feel more than anything else, is what you put into your body.
Yeah. And you eat Taco Bell at 7 o'clock at night. In the morning, you're probably not going to feel too good, and you're probably going to have a stomach ache. That's kind of the way it works.
Yeah, it actually, 7 p.m. or 7 a.m., if you're eating Taco Bell more than once, maybe twice a year, it's not good for you. It's really, our problem is fake food. And it's a complex thing. There's good and bad to it, but it's, on one hand, up until maybe a century ago, maybe 150 years ago, which is not very long ago in the grand scheme of things, that's like yesterday. Starvation was a real problem, even in America. Like, people would go hungry all the time. Like, that was a massive, rampant problem around the world. And capitalism solved that. Not perfectly, but that was one of many issues that capitalism fixed, was widespread hunger. And that's a massive leap forward as far as, progress and making people equal. But part of that was, cheaply produced food. When you're mass producing things, sometimes, it's not the same if you're mass producing something as if you're shooting it in the backyard and grilling it yourself, So sometimes there's fillers used, especially nowadays, people trying to cut corners and make money and all that kind of stuff. But it's fake stuff, stuff in ingredient labels that you can't pronounce. You really shouldn't be putting that in your body.
And why has anybody ever noticed that the fake stuff, the stuff that's bad for you, is the cheapest?
Right, because it's not real.
So you mean Little Debbie's aren't like part of the food group?
No. Unfortunately, the general rule is, if it wasn't available to your ancestors, you really shouldn't put it in your body. Like, if your ancestors had access to, no matter what continent they were on, they had access to corn, rice, potatoes, fish, chicken, beef, things that come from the earth. If it walks, swims, flies, or grows out of the ground, it's probably okay.
We just last night, my mother walked down to come see the dog and Peyton. She doesn't ever come to see me. If Peyton's not here, she doesn't come down. But now that I have Roman, she'll come down, open the door, and let him out. And she doesn't want to see me.
Whatever gets her.
Yeah, but she said, I can't remember the name of the show. I want to say it's on Netflix, but it's about the food industry. And she said, if you watch it, you will not eat chicken if you have a brain. And if you eat chicken, it's either going to be something you raised or certified organic, real chicken. But a lot of people, when they see an organic chicken and it's this big, that's how big chickens are supposed to be.
Right.
So we don't need these fryers that get out 6 and 7 pounds chicken, 7-pound chicken, cleaned,
Right.
defeathered. They're supposed to weigh that when they're whole and have everything there. So, getting to the health side of it, not just from the cost side of it, it does cost money to eat, but that is where people, in my experience, I'll put myself in some of my friends I know, they invest the least amount of money in their health.
Yeah, because I think it's an easy thing to neglect until it's too late.
Yeah.
And yeah, maybe people, are neglecting it when they shouldn't, and they're being irresponsible. But I also think, because, I spent a good decade in my 20s living very much hand to mouth. Didn't have health insurance. You don't go to the doctor unless you're dying.
And most people don't go to the doctor for one reason, the bill.
But that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Even with insurance anymore.
And that's unfortunate. Yeah, exactly. And that's really unfortunate. But I think that that's one of the reasons that people put off their health until it's too late, is because it's just something they can't focus on at the moment because they got bills, they got other priorities, and they don't realize that it needs to be a priority.
And I will, w- okay, I will give Obama a little slap, high five here. I didn't have health insurance after I went through my divorce. I couldn't afford it. When I was paying child support, I mean, it was a huge hit. I didn't have insurance. But thankfully, due to the health marketplace, um, I was able to get insurance. And the insurance I was able to get, I mean, it's still $600 a month, but it would be about 14 to 1500 if it was anywhere else. So I have really good insurance, and I'm very thankful. You know, I didn't get the $50 insurance plan. I got the platinum plan, and without health insurance, there's a lot of things in my life that would go unchecked. Like I've got to go get my shoulder checked. I think I ripped my shoulder, so I'm like, dadgummit. But if people would take the time, the tough guy syndrome needs to go away. And when I say guy, that includes women. But that, well, I don't ever go to the doctor. I just put duct tape on it. Well, well, I can't say that because I don't want to. Somebody I know who neglected something because it's that tough guy, I'll be okay, okay. They're having to learn to rewalk without some of their toes because they use that tough guy mentality. And then next thing you know, whenever they told them, well, we're going to have to amputate your toes, they're like, oh, wait, well, what would I do? No, if you just would have started doing some simple things 6 months ago, you'd still have your toes, but you didn't.
Yeah, and that was something I was going to say earlier too. Is people neglect their health for whatever reason, a lot of times until it's too late, and then you think you're avoiding bills. Wait till you get sick. Wait till you have diabetes and have to get your toes amputated, or like wait for those bills. It's not just the bills; it's the suffering that goes along with it. It really is true that health is something you're not grateful for until you lose it. But anybody who's ever known anybody that suffers with chronic pain or cancer or something, you've seen up front how grateful you should be for your health. And it's one of those things, like most things, that it's much easier to prevent something than it is to fix it later.
Yes.
Much easier.
And if money can fix your problems, you don't have problems. When you have true health problems, and if you have,
It's the great leveler.
it's the great level. And if you have gone through life, and there's some, like I was talking to a friend of mine just the other day, we were golfing. He's never had a headache. He's never had a backache. He's never hurt, and he's hardly ever been sick in his life. He's 51 years old, okay? He doesn't know what it's like to be sick in some areas. Now, I'm going to tell you this about this guy. People say, well, he's just lucky. He eats very well. He takes, on top of eating very well, you'll never see him eating junk food or fast food. On top of eating very well, he supplements his diet. He takes about 18 different supplements every single day. He's at the gym 6 days a week. He's only there for 30 minutes, but 6 days a week, he has maintained a healthy lifestyle, a healthy body, but he doesn't know what it's like to be sick. So sometimes if people have never had an ailment in their life, and you go through, and I know this is a little off kilter, but you got cut off in traffic, or you can't get the new truck that comes out, and you think, oh, I have problems. Go down to Texas Children's Hospital, and you'll see people with problems. And when you deal with that and their health, some problems are brought on that aren't brought on by diet or health. Some things you just, cancers, different things like that. But when you look at people that are in the hospital because they've smoked their whole life and now they have emphysema and they're there in the last stages of their life, and they look back and think, God, I wish I just would have put it down. Or people that they become diabetic, pre-diabetic, and realize I did it to myself. I did it to myself. And that's the hard part. And Liz, you deal with it a lot more. I mean, you actually have a platform. By the way, saw your new commercial last night. That looks really good.
Thank you.
Really
Yeah,
good.
shout
Really
out to
good.
Christian Pena. He did a really good job with those videos. Like,
Very good.
yeah, and I've been around photography and like that world long enough to know that video editing like that's a talent.
That is a talent.
hard.
And people pay good money for good editing.
Yeah, Christian Pena, guys, he's very good.
Christian Pena. And speaking of very good, I have this candle in here. This is called Cigar Bar, but it's from a lady that actually makes these candles right here in Huffman, and she sets up the little farmers market. This one's called Cigar Bar.
Smells really good. I was going to say when we walked in the studio, it smells like either whiskey or some sort of like sweet tobacco. It smells really good.
I like whiskey smells. I love cigar smells. I could light a cigar and pipe tobacco. Oh my God. I love the smell of it. So she makes these candles. It's called Light Yo Wick. Just
Light Yo Wick?
Light Y-O Wick. LightYoWick.com. I didn't know if you noticed when you walked in the house, we have a black pepper birch in the house. Oh, it just smells so good. Anyways, want to give her a shout out. They're great candles. And no, she did not ask me to do that.
Yeah, Christian didn't either. They're
Yeah,
just I like
no.
talented people.
I like she's got a talent, and you know that's the thing. And one of your talents is that you are a coach. You can lead people into that healthy lifestyle, and that's what it has to be. I've heard so many people, well, I'm going on a diet. Well, don't go on a diet. Create a new lifestyle.
Yeah, it's a lot of mindset shifts is really what it is. And I know this because everything I preach is like it's all like I've been at the fitness stuff for a good 15 years now. Like I started getting fit in my early 20s because I don't know, I just was like I can look better than this. And so I've just been after it for a long time, just learning things, and it really is a mindset shift. Like a lot of women in particular, like it's really unfortunate, like especially with women, because we have a lot of things. It's getting better now, but there's a lot of things we need mindset shifts with. One is, excuse me, one is lifting weights. No, you're not going to look like a man. That's completely wrong. Another is I have to weigh this much to look good. It's not true.
Yeah,
In fact,
no, I agree with that.
in fact, when I started lifting weights, I weighed more than I ever did, and by far looked better than I ever did. So a lot of it's and another one is if I want to look good all the time, I'm going to be hungry all the time, and I'm never going to be able to eat good food, and I can't enjoy my life. It's not true. But it comes from a place of ignorance. And by ignorance, I don't mean stupid. I mean, you just don't know. And I know that because I didn't know. And I had to go actively like teach myself about these things and do trial and error on myself and learn things. And a lot, it's just mindset shifts, and it's learning how food works. You have to learn how the gym works too. That's a huge component, but it's really learning about what you put in your body.
That's and when I eat healthy and I keep that healthy lifestyle, it kind of leads over into every area of my life.
Everything.
Everything. I feel better, especially with the American diet, with any diet, but specifically, you need to be supplementing your diet.
Yes.
We're not getting everything that we need. So there's great supplements out there. Who we use a lot of is Life Extension. Love Life Extension, but you should be taking some supplements. And this is going to sound horrible if you just took the context I'm going to say this in. I'll run into some people I grew up with, and I'm in the worst shape I've ever been in. And they look at me and they're like, man, you look great. And I know this sounds bad, but I don't go by looks. But I look at them and I'm like, man, you don't look so great. And I don't mean like saying that like, oh, you're overweight. I mean like, you don't look well. Like, I don't know how to explain it. And then you find out they eat fast food every meal. They're drinking 5 or 6 Monsters every single day.
Those are so bad.
And they're working nonstop. And yeah, they don't look good. And the thing is, your body really is a machine.
Yeah.
And if you're going to put those hours in and work like that, you better be feeding that machine the things that it needs.
I mean, one of the things, like I love science. I love learning about everything. But one of the cool things about science in particular, and particularly biology, whether it's human or animal or anything else, is like how beautiful it is. Like if you learn about DNA and how your body works and how like blood and cells and just all of this stuff works, it's just, there's design here. That's a whole nother episode, but it's just incredible what living organisms are and how complex they are, and just how things are breathing and living and all that kind of stuff. And it matters what you are feeding
It matters,
your
and
temple.
if people would take the time to do the investigation they did into COVID, into their health, we'd see a lot of changes in people. I have friends that were diabetic. I have a woman that I love. I mean, I love this woman like she's my skin. Cheryl Jackson, if you're watching this, and she does watch. I love Cheryl, and Cheryl moved away. She came to our church for almost 20 years. For 6 years, she worked directly with the youth ministry. She cooked every Wednesday for kids, helped out. I mean, she's an awesome woman, and she was a diabetic, and she took her health into her hands, changed her eating, changed everything. I mean, lost a substantial amount of weight. She wasn't diabetic anymore. And it wasn't just about the weight. It was about what she was putting in her body and what she was eating.
Right, and that's really one of the biggest problems that fake food causes, especially all this processed sugar and stuff. Diabetes. I actually think heart disease is the number one killer in America.
Yeah, it is.
But that's related to this too. Diabetes, I know what it is. Diabetes costs the American taxpayers more than any other chronic disease by a mile. By a mile.
Does it make you wonder why the FDA hasn't stepped out? I mean, if they're trying to control,
because big pharma and the healthcare system benefit from you being sick.
well, that is, and if people don't see that, there's a
They're
benefit.
starting to.
Well, and I think COVID showed a lot of people. The government's pushing sickness on people like, well, we got to take care of you now. If you have an
Why do you
administration,
think they're pushing the trans children agenda? Lifelong medical patients.
lifelong medical patients. But when you look at the FDA, and it's like, if you really cared about us, other countries have banned what we put in our food.
Yeah, all the GMO stuff. I think Putin just
Yeah,
banned that
Putin
in
banned
his
it.
country.
And Europe and these, they won't let
they
what
won't let
we
it in.
put into our foods, and we're just eating it every day, all day long. It's in our school food, it's in our fast food, and when you start looking at it, it's like, well, wait a second. If you know it's not good for us, but it's in your food, that's just like this video about the chicken that she watched on Netflix. The FDA came out and they were having salmonella outbreaks, and they're like, well, there can be a little salmonella. No, there can't be any.
Because it's like a whole different tangent, but
Yeah.
it's because they don't care about our
They don't
health.
care.
They work for big pharma.
People have to take their health into their hands.
Correct, and that's really, I just launched my my coaching platform in January, and it's been great so far. Like, I'm so grateful for all the friends I've made and clients I've had, and it's been really great so far. But I'm starting to realize, about 8 months into it, that I really want it to evolve in that way. Like, I love helping women over 30. That's absolutely who I want to continue to focus on helping. But I really am starting to realize that what you're saying is really at the root of all of our problems, whether you're male, female, no matter what age you are. We have all. That's why people don't know what they're doing. It's not because they're stupid. I'm not stupid, and I didn't know what I was doing for a long time. That's how most people are, because we've never been given correct information about all sorts of things. Our hormones. Women have never been given correct information about their cycles and how that impacts your energy, everything about your life. We've never been given correct information about food. Our food pyramid's upside down. It's completely upside down. Protein should be at the top. Where carbs are, at the bottom, that should be protein.
Yeah. Yeah, we are definitely a protein-driven society, especially.
Well, we need protein more than anything else. Our meals should be revolving around real food, real sources of protein.
The greatest thing that I love about my daughter is her healthy eating habits. Now, if I bring junk food in the house, which if you go through my pantry, there's probably the most junk food you'll find in there is like ranch pretzels. We just don't keep a lot of junk food.
That's smart.
But when I do, and probably once or twice a month, I'll get her like some Cheetos or one of those box of chips for like all the different Doritos. And she'll eat that. But if I put watermelon in there, it's gone. Grapes, gone. If I put
It's so great, though, to establish healthy eating habits when you're young.
and I have a little to do with that, but her mother eats very, very well, and her mother has a big thing to do with that. So it carries over. Your kids pick up on your habits, and since I have never been a Coke drinker, I mean, it's a treat. I have one from time to time, Peyton doesn't drink Cokes. Kids are going to mirror what they see.
Yeah.
And when you're eating McDonald's every meal, your kids are going to grow up wanting to eat McDonald's every
Well,
single meal.
they know what they see, and like that was actually when I started, to go down the fitness road in my early 20s. That was something I realized, and I told the rest of my family about it too, and they got on board too and fixed themselves too, which was great. But I just started to notice, I was in college and still living at home, and I remember one day like looking around our pantry, because I'm just in like a community college, and but I'm meeting kids that I'd never seen before, and I just started to notice that people were like fitter, and I don't know, it just gave me a different perspective. And I remember going home and looking at the pantry, and there's just these 12 packs of Dr. Pepper, and there's honeycomb cereal, and there's and I just remember thinking, I don't know, that was like a flag for me. And as soon as I started to learn about things, soda gone. That is really the worst thing you can put in your body. There's no nutritional value. You're drinking your calories. It's just terrible.
And if you're going to have a soda, if you're going to drink one that has real cane sugar in it.
Yeah, like it's okay to have stuff as a treat every once in a while, but really the worst things that you can put in your body is like this, the corn syrup. That's not just processed sugar. It's like fake processed sugar. It's so terrible for you. And that's what is just loaded up in sodas and all sorts of other things too. But I just remember looking around like the family pantry that we'd been eating this way since I was, my whole life, and just being like, this is why we're all fat. Like we weren't fat, but like all four of us were like, we can be better than this. And it's funny to look back on pictures from back then, because none of us were like sloppy fat or like that. But there was just like way extra of all of us, like, and now none of us look like that at all, and we haven't for a long time. But it's because we just woke up one day collectively and we're like, wow, like we're eating like crap.
Yeah. And to the other extremes, sometimes people, if you are ever involved in the fitness world, you're involved in to the polar opposite, you can get unhealthy in fitness too.
Oh, for sure. That can be an addiction.
Yeah.
That's actually, and this is a different conversation. I'm not knocking people who compete. That's a very respectable thing to do. I just don't compete anymore because for me personally, it was destroying my mental health.
Yeah.
But it's because, it requires extreme dieting, and, you look that way for 12 hours on a stage, and it takes a lot of manipulation to get to that point.
Yeah.
So for me personally, it's not good. But
some of the guys and girls I hung out with and being involved in that world, you realize some of the extremes people go to look like that.
Yeah.
And I want to tell you, every single one that I have been around at least 2 weeks out from competition are miserable.
Yes, it's very hard.
Miserable. So when the thing about health, mental health, physical health, it's all about balance.
Yeah.
Life really is a balance. And when you get unbalanced in certain areas, you end up doing like a extreme. When you're unbalanced, you become extreme in one area, and
well, you're lopsided, and that's never good.
It's never good. And so eating right, eating healthy, for me, after my surgeries, after my accident, the doctor told me, you are really going to have to make sure you don't gain weight. And he said, listen, here's the thing. I had my back done at 27 years old when the doctor said, we're normally doing this on people who are 55, 60, 70 years old. You're really going to have to maintain your weight, so you don't have pain chronically. So you're going to have to.
You're doing good.
You can't gain weight. My doctor told me, he said, most people after the surgery are going to put on 30 or 40 pounds because they get to where they don't move. And I'm like, that stuck with me. And I'm like, heck no. And even when I couldn't, and I was walking with a walker, I would sit there and I had a little weight, and I'd just sit there and I'd move it back and forth, and I'd curl it, I'd
I've learned that unless it's a really extreme circumstance, and usually these kinds of circumstances are temporary, just while you're healing, but if you've got an injury, I can find something you can do. I promise. I promise I can find something that you can do that will keep you moving in some regard. Even if it's something like that, you can get pedal machines that work your feet and all. I mean,
You
there's
can
there's
do your
ways
hands
that you,
too.
yeah, and it's important. Like that's what I mean. Like you have to, no matter what stage of life you're in, if you're pregnant, postpartum, if you've got an injury, if you're getting older, like you just need to assess where you are, what you can do, and just remember that motion is important, activity is important, what you're putting in your body is important, and you need to be mindful of that. It's it's just part of being human, and you'll thank yourself.
I can't stress enough that get proper knowledge with the power of the internet. You have people like you have a website they can go to, they can sign up, they can get we have coaching and everything. And I mean, think about it. We have life coaches. You can go to the John C. Maxwell School and become a life coach. I mean, we have baseball coaches, basketball coaches. I mean, all these people. And I'm going to tell you, the sports world has transformed from the time I was a kid. We just we ate hot pockets all day long and went out and played football. Not anymore. The sports world has shifted, and from the time that some of these kids are, 10 years old, they're already making sure the day before they're having the correct carbs to release the next day, the night before, the meals they're eating, when they eat, when they wake up, and they're being trained. You are eating fuel,
Yes.
and it's starting at a younger age. So you're seeing people grow up with a healthier concept, and that really is stuck to what I've noticed in the sports world. But when you see the kids that sit and play video games all the time, and I know I'm going to catch some flack, but oh well, most of those kids are obese.
Yeah,
It's
because
because they sit all day long.
they're sedentary and they're not learning about nutrition from a coach somewhere. And those coaches are exactly right. Like, there's a difference between lean mass and sloppy cheeseburger weight. Like sloppy cheeseburger weight is Taco Bell all the time and just eating a ton of calories and being fat. Lean mass requires intent, and it actually requires an uncomfortable level of calorie consumption sometimes. Like some of these men that do bodybuilding, when they're when they're trying to prep for a show, one meal can include 20 egg whites, which is why they drink egg whites. It's not like a meathead thing. Sometimes it is, I guess, but it's because how are you supposed to eat a pile of 20 egg whites when you have 6 meals in a day and that's one?
Whew. So for myself, whenever I am working out, and I did work out, I will not gain weight or put on muscle unless I have at least 3,000 to 4,000 calories a day, at least.
Yeah.
I guess I just have
You have a lot of mass.
I have a high metabolism, I guess. I don't know. But if I'm eating 1,800 to 2,500 calories a day and I work out, I shrink. I have to eat like nonstop.
What a terrible problem to have.
Well, Well, you've been around me. I'm like, I'm eating breads, pizzas.
No, I don't mean this literally, but I hate you. Like, it's not fair. Like, I'm not joking. If most, I would venture to say it's more than half, at least.